Did you know that Marvel is known for being meticulous in their movies, adding so many details and callbacks that many people miss? So let me share a few of them with you, as I have compiled 10 Marvel movie details you might have missed. In Avengers Infinity War, when Thanos sacrificed Gamora to obtain the Soul Stone, if you look closely, you can see other bloodstains on the ground. This suggests that Gamora was not the first person to be sacrificed on Vormir, and no, this is not from Black Widow when they travel back in time, since we can see the same stains when Natasha cliff dive in Endgame. I believe these marks could be from Odin, as we know he once tried to collect the Infinity Stones as evidenced by the Infinity Gauntlet in his treasure vault. At that time, Red Skull was still on Earth, meaning no one was there to guide Odin to the sacrifice, which could explain why he ultimately failed to acquire the Soul Stone. Why did Heimdall choose to send Hulk back to Earth instead of Thor? In Avengers Infinity War, after Thanos attacked the Asgardians, Heimdall, as a last resort, used his power to send Hulk to Earth to warn them about Thanos. But why did he choose Hulk instead of his king? This was probably ordered by Thor himself, since we know that Thor and Heimdall can communicate telepathically. Thor likely knew he could survive even if Thanos destroyed the ship. He knows that they would need to fight Thanos again, and planned to use Hulk as a trump card, considering him as one of the strongest Avenger. So he chose to save Hulk instead. Well, that plan didn't exactly work out, did it? Did you know why Tony Stark chose to sign the Sokovia Accords? And no, it wasn't just because a kid died in the Ultron incident. His belief in accountability dates all the way back to Iron Man 1. After escaping captivity in Afghanistan, he stated this in his interview.
I saw young Americans killed by the very weapons I created to defend them and protect them. And I saw that I had become part of a system that is comfortable with zero accountability.
He wanted people to take responsibility for their actions. And when the events of Age of Ultron happened, that was the last straw for him. That's why he was so adamant about supporting the Accords. And don't tell me Captain America was right, when even a super intelligent robot with an Infinity Stone sided with Tony. And to anyone who keeps saying Steve is right. Did you know that after it was announced that RDJ would return as Doctor Doom, there's also a possibility of a Captain America comeback? Many assume that Steve Rogers' story is over, since he became an old man at the end of Endgame, but theoretically, he could return. In Avengers Endgame, Professor Hulk developed a method to manipulate time by pushing time to a person, rather than pushing the person through time. We saw this turn Scott Lang into a baby, a kid, and an old man. If they used the same method, they could restore Steve Rogers to his prime, bringing back an even more experienced version of Captain America, given that he's lived for decades behind the scenes. Stan Lee should have been the old Captain America. Let me explain. We all know that Stan Lee had numerous cameos throughout the Marvel movies. But what if they made him to be the actual old Captain America all along? This would explain why he always seemed to be present at major events, quietly observing from the sidelines. Because he already knew what was supposed to happen and ensured everything played out as it should, preventing alternate branches of the timeline.
Please, kind sir, do not cut my hair.
In Avengers Endgame, after Doctor Strange brought everyone to the final battle, he asked Wong if that is everyone.
Is that everyone? But you wanted more?
He asked this because one important person was still missing, which is Captain Marvel. Out of the 14 million possible futures that Strange saw, the one where they won involved Captain Marvel fighting Thanos before Tony stole the stones. When Strange didn't see her there, he became anxious because he knew she was a key factor in their victory. In Infinity War, Thanos threw Gamora off the cliff to obtain the Soul Stone, as it required sacrificing someone he loved. But in Endgame, when the team traveled back in time to retrieve the stones, isn't it a strange coincidence that Clint and Natasha were the ones sent to Vormir? If another team had go there, they would have been doomed. This was likely Nebula's doing.
He took her to Vormir. He came back with the Soul Stone. But she didn't.
And she must have told them to go to Vormir without revealing the sacrifice required.
You bald-headed demon. These men should be ashamed to show their faces.
In Captain America, the first Avenger, when Steve emerges from the chamber, Peggy touches his chest. This wasn't actually part of the script. It was because this is the first time Haley Atwell saw Chris Evans shirtless and she couldn't help but react.
In the take, I hadn't seen him with his clothes off yet, so when on action, he then emerged from this pod. I cop a feel of his man.
His pectoral muscle.
His pectoral muscle,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I gently stroked that.
In Avengers Endgame, Thanos destroyed the Infinity Stones to prevent anyone from reversing the snap.
Where are the stones?
Gone. Reduced to atoms.
He stated that he had reduced them to atoms. Then in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, when Scott enters the quantum realm, we see strange creatures in the background that oddly resemble the Infinity Stones. These creatures could be the remnants of the destroyed stones. Since in Age of Ultron, it was established that the stones have a form of consciousness. This could explain why they appear to be living beings. How did Thor become so powerful in Infinity War? This is because Odin possessed the Odin Force, an ancient power passed down from their ancestors. When Odin died, the Odin Force was transferred to Hela, as she was next in line for the throne. Then, after Surtur destroyed her, the Odin Force transferred to Thor. This explains why in Infinity War, he was able to withstand the power of a literal star and take a direct blast from the Power Stone and still survive.